So, since we're in the back to school season, I thought that I would make a list of some books that I recommend for classrooms. When I made this list, I was thinking a lot about my own classroom. If you have not seen a video where I talk about it before, I work with students with special needs. Could be something as simple as severe anxiety, ranging all the way to autism, but they are close to, if not at, grade level. So we have a bit more leeway with things like that. And something we do in my classroom is we will read a book and then we will watch the movie after we've finished it. So it's kind of a little reward for finishing the book. So I picked movie, book adaptations that would both hopefully fit depending on the age of the kids in the classroom. But I just have a short little list and I'm going to share that with you. My first recommendation and the first book on this list is The Hunger Games. It can be just the first book. It can be the whole series. You can really do a lot with that. I would recommend it for older kids. I don't know if my boys would be so much into it, but the movie is, I believe, PG-13, and that is within the age range of my students, so that would be a movie we can watch in my classroom, and they have shown interest in the book before, so I've been thinking about trying it out, see what they think about it. If they don't like it partway in, I'm perfectly fine with backing out of it and picking a new book. But The Hunger Games, I think, teaches a lot of really good subtle lessons and not so subtle lessons. There is a lot of critical thinking that you can encourage through this book. There's really a lot going on. There are relationships. You can look into the relationships that some of the characters have. You can look into appropriateness of those relationships and if what they are doing in these relationships is okay. I've seen, I forget her name, but there is a teacher on TikTok that has done the Hunger Games series with her high school classroom, or middle school, high school, around that age, which is also around the age range that my boys are. And they absolutely loved it, and I absolutely love that they talked about those like relationship red flags in that classroom, and that is definitely something that I'm interested in talking about in my own classroom. I really, really hope that we can get to this book and have them really get into it and enjoy it. One that I would say is kind of a substitute, if you think that's a little too young for your classroom, would be The Giver. I know The Giver also is a little bit young. I know we all read it when we were younger. I don't know if there is a movie for it or not. I will have to double check. But The Giver is also a really good dystopian society kind of thing. I have some other dystopian books on this list, but I have them grouped differently, and I think The Giver and The Hunger Games kind of group in a similar category, in my opinion. That might just be me. It has also been a little while since I've read The Giver. I do want to reread it. I will double check on that movie, but The Hunger Games, first book or the whole series. You don't have to do the brand new one, Sunrise on the Reaping, or A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but I think that those would be cool little bonuses. Let's move on to a request that I got from my students that I'm excited to try out. So my boys are typical teenage boys. They have been telling me that they want to do some scary stories. They want to do scary books. They want to watch scary movies. I think that it's hilarious and I love the idea. But a lot of horror movies are not appropriate to show in a classroom, one. And 2, I'm not going to be the reason that they have nightmares. I don't want to have that conversation with parents. It's not something I want to do. So at first I pitched Coraline and they were like, oh, yeah, we already kind of know what that is. And I was like, well, you know, I'll see what I can do. I go to a lot of secondhand bookstores and I went specifically looking for books for my classroom for next year. I want to kind of grow the library in my classroom to have a little bit more substance and not just books for them to look at. I picked up a neat little stack of 5 or 6 Goosebumps books. Now, I will preface this by saying I have seen some of the Goosebumps movies as a kid, and even though they are made for children, I found them absolutely terrifying, and that was as a middle school, high schooler. I will admit, I'm terrified of Goosebumps movies. They freak me out so bad. But I want to bring the books in to kind of scratch that itch for them, that scary itch. And I will remind them consistently while we read it or watch the movie, whatever stage we make it to, that if at any point it is too much for them or they're not enjoying it anymore, we will stop. We do not have to finish the book. We do not have to finish the movie. If some of them are really enjoying it and some of them are really not, I would love to kind of have an alternative activity for the students that are really enjoying it, or maybe read something else, but for those students that are really enjoying it and do really want to read it, maybe pitch an idea for a group where we invite other students from other classrooms to come and like read it with us. Maybe that would be cool. I think that they're going to be excited about it. So I'm really, really excited to bring them to the classroom and see what they think. I hope that they like it. And I hope that the movies aren't as terrifying as I remember them being. But next, I'm going to talk about one of my absolute favorites and another like alternative for it. So the rest of these are more serious. The Goosebumps was our happy little side thing, but now we're going to do some more serious books. Next is a shorter one. I want to try to do a mix of short books or novellas and longer books. That way it'll be easier to pace. Both of these are really short. They could be finished in less than a month. So, one of my all-time favorite books, Animal Farm. It may be better for like older high school kids. Some of the critical thinking needed for a book like this would probably be difficult in younger age groups. I do want to attempt it because I really do like to encourage that critical thinking, and I like for them to be able to think through if they think that something is right or something is wrong. I absolutely want my boys to succeed in every single part of life. And a big part of that, I think, is knowing if you are being treated well or not, or knowing right from wrong. It is something that I would really like to weave into my classroom a little bit. There are, I believe, multiple Animal Farm movies. I'm not positive of the rating. I will have to double check. But I have multiple copies of Animal Farm myself. And while I don't think I will be donating it to my classroom library, if I find an extra copy, maybe I will. But I'm happy to bring my copy in and read it to them. So we'll see how they feel about that. Maybe I'll even maybe I'll even bring my annotated version and show them like cool tabs in it. They might enjoy that. They enjoy those little things. Now, the alternative that I thought of for this is not one of my favorite books. I'm actually not a big fan of it. Fahrenheit 451. I know a lot of people prefer it over Animal Farm. Not positive about the movie again, but I'll have to double check on that. I can always ask them. I like to let them kind of choose what we're doing. I like to give them that bit of being included in what we're doing. So maybe I will pitch both options to them and see what they think. I'm really hoping that they want to read it though, because I absolutely love that book and I absolutely love the movie, and they're both nice and short. I think that it would be a cool opportunity to have with them, is to talk to them about how much I love it and all of my thoughts on it. Oh, I don't know how I'm going to talk about these other two in my classroom, but we're gonna do our best. We're gonna talk about them, and maybe I'll double think if I want to even pitch them. So my next one is a book that I read, I believe, in 5th grade. I read it in school. Flowers for Algernon. Now, we only read excerpts from the book. We did not read the full book, but I do own the full book, and I want to reread it now. I know that it is a heavy topic, especially for a classroom, but I also think it's a really good message to teach students. I think especially my students who are special needs, I think it would be a book for them to kind of see themselves in sometimes. I try to see myself in all of these kinds of books, but being able to talk about connection and emotions, feelings are always allowed in my classroom. I am happy to talk my students through how they feel about something, what they think about something, and I think that that book would be kind of cool for that. Once again, I don't know if there's a movie for it, but I'll have to double check. It might be too sad. It might be too sad for my classroom, and if there's no movie, we're gonna ditch it. But I think that would be a cool one for maybe a middle school, high school class, in just any other classroom out there. I think that this book really teaches empathy, and it really shows that even people that are not like you still have feelings, they still understand. And that's a huge thing for me, is showing that you need to treat everybody with kindness because you don't know what they are going through. And I think that book would be a good opportunity to kind of talk about that a little bit. I will double check on if there is a movie and what it is rated, if it exists. But I have one more to talk about, another book that is commonly read in schools, so I think everybody already knows about it, but still a fun one to talk about. So, my last one is Lord of the Flies. This one is another kind of heavy book. I did not personally read this book in school, but I know that there were other classes in my school that read this book. We read this in like 6th grade, or other 6th graders read this book in their class. I personally did not in mine. But I read that book for the first time as an adult, and all I could think about was they were having us read stuff like this so young, and we did not understand. but I feel like it's also good to kind of talk about that and teach these lessons early on. I think that it would be like a cool thing to talk about in my classroom. It would be like just on that edge of a scary story, which my boys want so badly. So maybe I'll pitch it. I'll see what some other teachers think, and I'll look into the movie and what it's rated. This is what worries me, there is kind of an excess of violence in this book. So I would have to make sure that that is okay for my students. I really do not want to traumatize them or make them upset with any of these books, but I also want them to think about some of the themes of these. I can't tell if my boys would think certain things are funny or not, if they will really grasp the weight of what is happening, things like that. We have read in the past, like Hoot, we read Holes. They are kind of bored of those kinds of books, so I'm trying to find things that are a little more, like there's more going on. I think that there's just not enough happening in some of these books, and they're a little bit bored with it. So I'm trying to think outside of the box. I'm really, really trying to pick books that I know have lessons that we can kind of talk about, but they get bored with these kinds of things very quickly, and I really, really want to kind of kindle that love of literature that may be inside of them. We'll see. I really hope that some of these books are a hit. But that's my entire list. If you have any ideas for books that would be cool to read in the classroom, please leave them in the comments. I would love to read them. If you have recommendations for me to try out in my classroom, I will absolutely welcome those recommendations. That is all I have this time. So I will see you next Friday. Happy reading. Have a good weekend.